Joining me now are Kevin Cirilli and Nancy Cordes. Kevin is chief Washington correspondent at Bloomberg. He is at the White House, and Nancy is our CBS News chief congressional correspondent. She is on Capitol Hill. Welcome to both of you. Kevin, the president is clearly not backing down. We just heard him saying these people, quote, hate America. What does he think he is gaining from making statements like these?
I was talking with Republican strategists, many of whom would like to see the president tamper down his rhetoric. That even what Senator Lindsey Graham, a Republican from South Carolina, is saying earlier today on Fox News regarding the political attacks that President Trump has lobbied against the likes of freshman Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Ilhan Omar. The president, for his part, trying to make these individuals the face and the ideology of the Democratic Party. He clearly is now suggesting that these group of freshman congresswomen are the face of the Democratic Party. He is trying to suggest that these congresswomen, with their different approaches regarding foreign policy, would somehow be shaping the Democratic narrative. And this is something that obviously now political gloves are off. The president, just within the last in his comments, really striking a much more aggressive tone, a much more brash rhetorical approach than, quite honestly, we've seen from him targeting any folks dating back to Hillary Clinton.
You have to wonder if there's some frustration left over about that census question, and this is where he's channeling that frustration. Nancy, Republican lawmakers were mostly silent on Sunday after the president's remarks. Senator Lindsey Graham did speak this morning and said the president needs to knock it, quote, down a notch. Let's listen to what he had to say.
Their ideas, they're anti-Semitic. They talk about the Israeli state if they're a bunch of thugs, not victims of the entire region. They wanted to impeach Trump on day one. They're socialist. They're anti-Semitic. They stand for all the things that most Americans disagree with. Make them the face of the future of the Democratic Party.
Senator,
you will destroy the Democratic Party.
It sounds like you're saying the president went too far with these.
I just don't think you aim higher. They are American citizens. They won an election. Take on their policies. Mr. President, you're right about their policies. You're right about where they'll take the country. Just aim higher.
So, Nancy, what position has this tweet put Republicans in? I mean, you just saw Lindsey Graham there sort of grappling with how to spin it.
Right. And you had Lindsey Graham saying that these are communists, these women who hate America, and yet the president should aim higher in his rhetoric about them. And a number of Republicans are now on the record. Just in the past few hours, they've been asked about this by reporters as they come back to Capitol Hill. They've been asked about it on radio shows, on television. And what we're starting to get a picture of is how uncomfortable at least some Republicans are with the president's comments. Let me just give you a few examples. Will Hurd, Republican from Texas, called the president's comments racist and xenophobic. Rob Portman, a Republican senator from Ohio, called the president's comments divisive, unnecessary, and wrong. Fred Upton from Michigan said it's very disappointing. You know, 3 of the 4 women were born in this country, and it makes no sense what the president is saying. And then just one more to read to you from Senator Pat Toomey of Pennsylvania, who said these women are just as much American citizens as I am. So the president is wrong, he's saying, on the facts. So clearly there's a level of discomfort among Republicans about what the president continues to say about these 4 women. And beyond that, a strategic sense that what he is doing is handing to the Democrats on a silver platter the ability to rally around them and set aside some of the internal divisions that had been straining the bonds within the Democratic Party.
And that discomfort that you described there, Nancy, is clearly not shared by the president, because we just heard him asked about Lindsey Graham's comments saying he thinks you should aim higher, and the president said, I disagree with Lindsey. Right. So he's not at all cooling down here, Nancy. I mean, last week we were talking about the feud between Speaker Nancy Pelosi and these progressive freshmen, the Squad. Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez even accused the speaker of singling her and others out because of her race. So what impact has this remark by the president had on that divide in the Democratic Party? Has it eased it, or does it risk making it worse?
Well, just within the past hour, Tanya, Speaker Pelosi came out and said that actually the entire House is going to be voting on the floor on a resolution condemning the president's comments. She said that comments like that cannot stand, and that is going to put all Republicans in a very difficult position. They are basically going to have to vote on whether they think the president crossed the line or not. So this is very much being used as a Democratic rallying cry. But Kevin is right that this is a high-stakes strategy that some Republican strategists believe could work in their favor if the president is successful in making Ilhan Omar, making Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez the face of the Democratic Party. Frankly, that's what Nancy Pelosi was worried about when she called the women out last week, because those women have been so outspoken, very progressive members who aren't afraid to take on their fellow Democrats, something that always makes party leadership uncomfortable. They say, don't shoot inside the tent. Look at who our real opponents are. It's the Republicans. You weaken the Democratic Party when, for instance, you call moderate members who vote differently than you do modern-day segregationists, as the chief of staff to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez did in a now-deleted tweet in a debate over immigration. And so this is a strain that is going to continue. But at the moment, clearly, Democrats are rallying around these four women as comments pour in, not just from Democrats, not just from Republicans, but now from world leaders who say that the president crossed the line.
So, Kevin, I want to ask you a question about strategy, because obviously this latest remark by the president is another sign that he's doubling down on immigration as a main issue for his reelection bid. He's also adding in a little bit of sort of racial overtones there. My question to you is, though, is that helpful? Because we know that his base is solid. Is he going to be able to grow that base with this kind of rhetoric, though, to the numbers that he needs to win re-election?
Well, I mean, that's the political gamble that the White House is making. And to Nancy's point, in terms of not just where this goes inside of the Democratic caucus, but essentially what the president has done is taken freshman congresswomen and elevated them to the stature of Speaker Nancy Pelosi. And by saying that their vision on foreign policy is what is driving the Democratic caucus in the House of Representatives, he's essentially saying to the Democrats, do you agree with AOC on financial business decisions such as Amazon, in which she was advocating for Amazon not to be in her district, citing concerns that she had with workers and how they would be paid. Do you agree with that decision? He is also forcing the issue of Israel, which has made many Democrats uncomfortable for how AOC and Ilhan Omar have discussed the U.S.-Israeli relationship in recent months since they've arrived in Washington. So he is really forcing this conversation through very brash racial rhetoric that has made many Republicans uncomfortable, has definitely made Democrats uncomfortable. But the gamble, according to the sources that I'm talking with, is that once the political dust settles, so to speak, that the ideology of these congresswomen will be ultimately the debate that is had.
All right. Kevin Zrilli and Nancy Cortez, we have to leave it there. Thanks to both of you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.